Hey there folks, today I'd like to take a casual peek into the Marvel Legends Infinite series Gamora action figure set by Hasbro. This set is part of the Guardians of the Galaxy subline of Marvel Legends, and is also a part of the Groot Build-A-Figure collection. This set was first available in the summer of 2014, before the release of the Guardians of the Galaxy live-action film, from which these figures are based off of. It sold for about $15 to $20, depending on which place you were able to find it and purchase it from. I found this set in, I think it was June of 2014 at a Toys R Us, and paid about $21, $22 for this set. Taking a closer peek at Gamora here in the packaging, you could see the figure here, which is based off the actress Zoe Saldana. And you could see that the figure here is wielding a weapon accessory, a sword, which is pretty cool. And you can see to the figure's right the Build-A-Figure piece, which is a leg of Groot. I believe it's the left leg there. It's hard to tell on there. And the figure and the Build-A-Figure part is in the typical Marvel Legends Infinite series packaging. Except for it's themed for Guardians of the Galaxy. You can see the logo here at the top. And you can see that this figure is part of the Groot Build-A-Figure collection there. And you can see that this packaging is themed in purple, which seems to be the color of choice for the movie. Over here on the side, you can see an artist rendition of Gamora. And it's the same on the other side as well. And here we have the back of the packaging. And you can see here a photo of Gamora there. It looks a little bit different than what's in the packaging, so I'm guessing this is a prototype of Gamora there. And you have the Marvel Legends logo at the top, Guardians of the Galaxy logo here on the top right, and you have a brief description of the Gamora character. And below we have here other figures and the Build-A-Figure in this subline. Now you have Groot here on the left put together, and then you have the other figures in this subline of Marvel Legends. You have Star-Lord, Gamora, which is what we have here, Rocket Raccoon, Drax, Marvel's Nova, and Iron Man. And these last two, I believe, are comic versions of the characters, not movie versions of the characters. So we'll be right back and have Gamora here out of the packaging. Okay, we're back and we have Gamora here out of the packaging, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at all of the items that are included with the figure first. Starting out with this, which is a pamphlet that is included with probably all of the Guardians of the Galaxy figures, and it's basically a instruction sheet, visual guide on how to put the Build-A-Figure of Groot together. And you can see also a checklist of all of the parts, and one checklist here is Gamora with the left leg of Groot, and that's pretty interesting. Nothing on that side. And speaking of Groot, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Build-A-Figure piece, the left leg of Groot. And it is pretty tall piece, and it's the leg. And you can see that it almost stands as tall as the figure itself. So this Build-A-Figure is going to be pretty large, but not large as some of the older Marvel Legends, especially the Toy Biz Marvel Legends, but it's still going to be a larger piece for a Infinite Series Build-A-Figure. And you can see the details on this Build-A-Figure part of the leg, which is very, very cool. And you can see all the sculpting detail. It's very, very nice. On there you could see, I guess, the wood-like texture to the sculpt, like little branches here intertwining throughout the leg. And it's actually pretty neat. Now this is molded in a brown plastic that is lighter than what's being shown on the screen, at least what I can see through the screen. It's a little bit lighter, and it looks like it's molded in a single color with some paint highlighting of what looks to be almost like a very light brown mixed with silver in it. It's hard to explain, but you could see it on the raised portions of the sculpt here, so indicating more of a highlighting type of paint on there, which is pretty cool. You can see the differences here between right here and the indentation of the sculpt here, where it's a little bit darker there. So, but pretty neat. Now this is articulated as well. You could see the hinge joint for the hip here for outward movement, and basically a swivel there for forward and back movement. You have a hinge here to bend the knee, if you can call it a knee for this particular character there. It bends about that far and straightens out about that much. And there's also a swivel at the knee-like area as well, so you can swivel that around, and when you bend it, it does swivel like that. So pretty interesting. And it has a hinge at the ankle-like area, so you can bend the I guess the foot downwards about that much, so straight down, which is nice, and bend upwards about that much at most. And there's also a peg going into the foot, so you have the more modern style foot articulation with most Marvel Legends, where you have an ankle-like pivot to the foot there. So that's kind of neat. And this is the left leg of Groot, which is included in the Gamora set. Now there is one other accessory included with the figure, and this is the sword on here. Yeah, very interesting. It's made of a softer type of material, not too entirely soft, but I can picture other Gamora sets having the sword kind of warped on there because of the softer material of the sword on here. So I guess you'd have to, if you're particular on accessories and how well they're packaged, you might have to go through a few sets to find one that you're happy with. But I don't know if you can see the details on this sword here. Let me see if I can get into focus. There we go. You can see the sculpting details. Very nice. It's very slender for this sword, and has some sculpting detail here near the grip, which is pretty interesting. You could see also it's a little hollowed out here, which is pretty interesting. And then you have this portion of the blade. I'm not sure what that serves on there, so, but pretty interesting. And you have almost like a fork-like tip to the blade. Very nice. And also has a very thin grip on this blade, which may present an issue, which we'll bring up in a little bit. But pretty interesting there. And it's just painted, or it's not even really painted, it's just molded in this silver color. So, but that's that. Now, taking a look at Gamora, the figure. It's actually pretty good, and there are some issues I have with it. And I think it's more with my particular figure. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Gamora figure here in detail. I have to say the likeness to the actress, Zoe Saldana, is actually pretty good. on here. It doesn't have too much expression on her face. Pretty much a stoic expression on the figure here, which is, I guess, okay. It is pretty much average. And the sculpting to it is actually nicely done. The paint application on the face and head is actually done quite well. The eyes are painted nicely on there. They're not wonky or anything like that. The markings on her face are applied fairly well. You can see on both sides. On there, very nice. On there is really not much in as far as the skin texturing goes. It's fairly smooth, and the paint is just one layer, you could say. There is no shading or highlighting on there, so it's rather plain on the skin tone of light green. But as far as layering on the hair, it's actually done fairly nice. You can see the sculpting detail, nice waves in there, and sculpting in the strands of hair there. It's actually fairly nice. Now, while this was in packaging, I thought it looked a little too flat as far as sculpting of the hair. I think it was more the plastic packaging around the face that produced that type of effect. And I thought it was a little too flat from what it looked like in packaging. But once you get it out of packaging, it looks much better on there. There's more definition than what's shown in packaging. So if you're worried about that, you don't have to worry about it once you get it out of packaging. Now, paint application, there's several layers of paint on here. You have what looks like a base black applied, and then you have another layer of paint toward the mid-length, toward the ends of the hair, where it transitions from black to a reddish-brown color, which is actually pretty neat because the reddish-brownish area of the hair, the paint looks almost like a metallic type of paint. It's very glossy and produces a metallic-like effect, which is actually pretty neat. And in combination with the waves and the sculpt, I think it produces a nice effect there. So that's pretty cool. Now moving down towards the figure here, you can see, I guess this is what she wears in the film. Now I have to mention that based on the back of the packaging of the photo of the character, it's a little bit different. I believe the one in the photo is a prototype figure, but there are a little bit differences, minor differences in the sculpt on her, I guess her outfit here. And it's actually quite interesting. It's got a nice sculpt to it. This mid area is supposed to produce like a netting effect. It has that texture to it. I'm not sure if you could see it there, but it's pretty neat. And then it has a combination of leathers on there, and which is pretty interesting. So a little bit more flat here in the back, but you have in this collar area here, which is nice. It's painted in a metallic blue, which is always a really cool color when applied onto a figure. And then here's where I have a really, my most major gripe with the figure. There is supposed to be silver highlighting in this area, but it's very poorly painted on there. It's really, it's bleeding everywhere on less so on this side, but really it's just a mess right over here and over here on the tips, where it's either missed or bleeding over into the other areas. And I believe that's my particular figure in particular, and may not be the case with every Gamora figure. Now, when I got this figure, it was the first Gamora figure I've seen, and the only one I've seen since, so I really had no choice in picking the best out of a bunch of Gamora figures. So I'm not sure what the distribution is like in other areas, but in my area, this is the only figure I could find, so I really had no choice on which figure to pick. But really kind of disappointed with the application of paint on there. It just messes up the nice metallic blue there. Moving down to the rest of the figure, you can see that she wears a pair of gloves, fingerless type gloves, which is actually kind of neat. And it's just in black, but you can see sculpting detail along the forearm area and even in the hand area of the glove, which is pretty nice. And speaking of the gloves, and you can see the hands here. They're in an opened grip type of pose. The fingers are not articulated, so they're pre-posed there, which presents a problem with this sword. This blade has a very narrow grip, as I mentioned earlier, so with an open grip as this, there really is no secure hold on the figure, or on the blade with the figure, which is really unfortunate. Now this hand here on the right, or on the left, I should say, her left hand, it grips it a little bit better, but not that much better. It's mainly due to leverage of the blade, the angle of the blade in the hand. So at least for my figure, she's going to be wielding this with her left hand most of the time. But I could see where other Gamora figures where the grip is just not feasible at all, so which is kind of unfortunate. Now the fingers are made of a softer material. I guess you can bend the fingers to close the grip a little bit better. But that's just unfortunate, though, how open those hands are posed on there. Moving down here in the mid or lower torso area, yeah, she does have a belt, which is a separate piece that hangs off of her hips, which is pretty neat. It has this nice armor-like effect here on the left side, and does have a little bit of a sling here on the right. I don't know what that's for. I guess you could hang the blade off of the hook area of the blade here as a sort of, I guess, scabbard-like sheath. I don't know if that's the original intended effect or not, but when you do that, it does push up the belt a little bit high, so I don't know if that's the original intended effect or not. But that's pretty interesting. It does have some paint detail on there. You can see here some silver paint on the, I guess, the buckle or fastener area of the belt, which is pretty interesting. Moving down to the legs here, she's wearing sort of a leather type leggings, which is pretty neat. It's primarily in black. It has some of that nice metallic blue paint on there, and it's actually applied well. It does bleed into the outside of the recessed areas, but the way that the bleed is, it still makes it look good. It's not too bad on there, and it's also a little bit on the back here, and the recessed area is really the creases in the, I guess, the leather is where the paint is applied, where it makes it look nice. Now the sculpting on the legs is actually kind of cool, although it's a bit difficult to see, but there are straps on here that are just below the swivel point on the thigh. She has, I guess, a sash type of area here sculpted into there, although it's not painted, unfortunately. It's just in that black color, the same color as her leggings there. So it's, without looking, yeah, it's hard to see. So it would have been nice to have this painted on there. And you can also see some more sculpting detail on the legs above the knees, which is actually quite nice. And lower leg here in the boot area, you can actually see some straps on her boots that are sculpted. Again, unpainted, so it's kind of muddled in there. You really have to look to see the detail on those sculpting details on the boots. But would have been nice to at least apply a little bit lighter color, highlighting color, to at least accentuate the sculpt of the parts of the boot there. Now, this particular figure has very small feet, even small feet for female Marvel Legends figures. On there, you can see she wears heel type boots, but the way they're sculpted, it does provide a little bit better stability when standing in the figure, but just due to the small nature of the feet, it still presents a bit of a finicky work to get her to stand properly with these small feet, but there are peg holes, so if you have a base, you can plug those in to a base. So that's good on there. Now, going over articulation for Gamora here. The head is on a ball joint, and it's easily removed. You can see the ball joint here. But it's still with the single ball joint here, and the sculpt does provide still some good articulation for the head. You can move the head left and right before the hair starts running into the body there. And you can actually move the head slightly downwards, not too much, but you can also move it upwards until the hair runs into the back there. So you still have some decent posability for the head there. And the hair is made of a softer type material, so it does provide a little bit of leeway in posing on the more extreme sides of the head there. So that's kind of cool. The arms are on ball hinge joints, so they can go all the way around at the shoulder. They can go out about that much and inwards towards the body fairly well. There is a hinged swivel joint at the elbow, so you can bend the arm about that much upwards, and you can straighten out about that much. And there's a swivel at the elbow, so you can move the lower arm all the way around. The hand is joined at the wrist with a hinged swivel joint, so you can bend the hand inward about that much, outwards about that much. Depending on the position of the hand, you can probably bend it outwards even more. And the hand does go all the way around at the wrist. One minor miss on the articulation is the torso articulation. It seems to use the same sculpting style as the later DC Universe Classics female molds, in that it has that particular cut in the torso to allow you to bend the torso slightly forward, if at all. You really can't, and you can barely push it back, and you can twist it all the way around and slightly side to side, but I don't think that's an intended effect on there. So other than the movement all the way around, the torso articulation isn't that great on there. But unfortunately, I'm not even sure why they did that. Unfortunately, it's just restricted on, especially that forward and back movement there. The legs at the hips are on a hinged swivel joint, what looks like a hinged swivel joint. You can bend the leg forward about that much, down, and back all the way. And you can get it slightly outwards, not that much, about that much, and inwards about that much. So the hinge is really limited due to the sculpt at the top here. It just the leg runs into the torso there, so you really can't get outward movement that much on this figure. There is a swivel cut at the thigh where you can turn it all the way around, and there's double hinges at the knees, so you can bend the knees all the way back, and this far forward, hyperextended there. And the foot at the ankle uses the older articulation joint where the peg goes into the leg instead of into the foot. So you really only have a hinge where you can bend the foot downwards about that much, upwards until it runs into the sculpt, and all the way around at the ankle. No ankle pivot due to the location of the peg. So kind of a bummer there that they don't use the more modern articulation on the foot. But overall, it's a decently sculpted figure. It represents the actress from the Guardians of the Galaxy movie fairly well, especially the likeness on the face. I do have to fiddle with the figure to get it to stand because of the small feet and some paint app issues, especially here. And again, I think that's more my figure than anything else. But pretty decent figure overall for the Guardians of the Galaxy subline of Marvel Legends. This is my casual peek into the Gamora figure. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.